hello again and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. And if you're not, welcome back. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you have not done so already, because it's a free way that you can help me out. On the evening of the 12th of November 2022, 4 students from the University of Idaho were setting out for the evening. They posted about how happy they were to know each other and to have each other to lean on. This would be the last post they would ever make, as tragically, in the early hours of 13 November 2022, their lives would be taken from them in the most brutal way. Kelly Gonzalez was born on 8 June 2001. She was 21 and she was a senior at the University of Idaho. She was set to graduate early in December of 2022 and also had a job lined up in Texas. She was also a member of the Alpha Phi sorority. Kaylee was one of 5 siblings and the middle child. She was described as someone always chasing adventure and living her life to the fullest. It was said that there wasn't much anyone could tell Kaylee that she couldn't do. She did absolutely everything that she set her mind to. She didn't hold back on love, fights, and life. She was known as the protector and the defender of the family and her siblings. Kaylee loved fashion, dressing up, and she loved accessories. She loved her friends and family, and she was known to be very kind. It was said that she also loved to play pranks on her friends and family constantly. She was described as a hard worker, always having a full-time job on top of her studies, even when she was in high school. Kaylee had been dating Jack Tucker for 5 years, but they had recently gone on a break since Kaylee was moving to Texas. She was strong-willed, but pretty soon, the two were back to talking again every day, and they were at the point of getting back together. The two of them also shared an adorable dog called Murphy. Madison Morgan, lovingly known as Maddie, was born on 25 May 2001. She was also 21 years old and a senior at the university. She was also best friends with Kaylee since they were kids, and they were said to have been inseparable since the 6th grade. Maddie was an only child, and since day one, her life has been a blessing to her family. But it was said that since her and Kaylee met, the sibling count in the Gonzalez home went up from 5 to 6, with Maddie joining them on family trips, and Kaylee's parents even referring to her as one of their children. Maddie was known for her ability to make others smile and laugh with her offbeat and hilarious sense of humor, and it was said that everyone who knew Maddie loved her. It was said that Maddie loved pink and sparkly things. She was admired for her focus and dedication to her future. She excelled in school and all jobs that she worked at throughout high school and college. She amassed a network of friends, colleagues, supervisors, and teachers who never hesitated to give her an amazing reference and remark on how wonderful she was, how hard she worked, and how much she cared. This was also made more evident when Maddie made the dean's list every semester. Maddie was a member of the sorority Pi Beta Phi, and she had been in a relationship with Jake Schreiger for close to 2 years. Zana Kernodle was born on 5 July 2002. She had 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. She was 20 years old and a sophomore at the University of Idaho. She was an active member of Pi Beta Phi and the Vandal Solution sales team. She was described as funny, positive, and loved by everyone. It was said that she was always light-hearted and lit up a room. She was said to be one of the nicest people that you could ever come into contact with, and was always kind to everyone that she met. She loved her family, friends, and her dog Shoeshine. She loved electronic dance music and going on family trips with her father and sister. She was very positive and an outgoing person who went out of her way to make everyone feel welcome. She always lived life to the fullest, and it was said that she had a contagious sense of humor. She had definitely made a lasting impression on all of those who knew her. Zana had been dating Ethan Chapin, who was also sadly found murdered in the house. Ethan Chapin was born on 28 October 2002 as the firstborn of a set of triplets, with 2 boys and 1 girl, born only minutes apart. Ethan was 20 years old and a freshman at the University of Idaho. Ethan was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity with his brother, and all 3 siblings attended the University of Idaho together. Ethan loved his friends, family, country music, and sports. His family said that Ethan loved and played each and every sport, and it didn't matter what it was. He loved it and he excelled in it. It was said that since Ethan started attending the University of Idaho, that he lived his best life. He loved the social life, intramurals, and tolerated the academics, and that he continued playing sports. It was said that Ethan absolutely just loved life and that he laughed continuously. His parents said that he smiled when he woke up and that he was still smiling when he went to bed. He was kind to everyone and a friend to all, and everyone that knew him loved him. Moscow is a city in north-central Idaho. It's located along the state border with Washington. It has a population of less than 26,000 in total, and more than 11,000 of those are enrolled at the University of Idaho, which is Idaho's oldest public university and has the largest campus in the state. Moscow is a town filled with college kids, frat and sorority houses, and off-campus housing for those that don't want to stay on campus. It's a city where you would literally run into someone you know from college everywhere you go. 1122 King Road was one of those off-campus houses. A 3-level, 6-bedroom house with 2 bedrooms on each level. It was known as a party house, and it wasn't strange for there to be loud noises and music heard coming from the house on a regular basis. And it wasn't all that strange to see a lot of people coming and going from the house. The house was shared by 5 girls: Kaylee, Zana, Maddie, and 2 others, who we will refer to as DM and BF. You can find all their information anywhere and everywhere currently. I think they have been through enough, so I will spare them sharing their names and photos in this video. Kaylee had just returned to the King Road house to visit with her friends for the weekend and to show off her new wheels that she had just bought with her own hard-earned money. She had been home with her family for the holidays and was set to return to them on the Sunday. On the evening of the 12th of November, the 5 roommates and Zana's boyfriend Ethan were all staying at the house, and they were all setting off to do their own Saturday night thing. Kaylee wanted to commemorate them all being together and took this one last photo together and posted it to social media. This would be one last big hurrah before classes ended before Thanksgiving break and everyone headed home for the holidays. But sadly, this night would end with the brutal deaths of 4 young, vibrant students who had their whole lives in front of them. Kaylee and Maddie were both 21 and set out to go to the Corner Club, a sports bar frequented by college kids. It was about 1.5 miles from the house. They were seen there from 10 p.m. to around 1:30 a.m., where they then went to a grub truck that streamed their evenings on Twitch, and the two were seen there on a video ordering some carbonara pasta. They were seen receiving their food and leaving around 1:44 a.m. A private party then took them back to the King Road house, to which they arrived at around 1:56 a.m. Xana and Ethan went to the Sigma Chi frat party, where Ethan was a member, and it was within walking distance from the house. Xana and Ethan were at the Sigma Chi frat house party from 9 to around 1:30 a.m. and arrived home around 1:45 a.m. The other two roommates, DM and BF, also headed out for the night to do their own thing, and they were back at the King Road house and in bed by 2 a.m. Between 2:26 a.m. and 2:45 a.m., Kaylee phoned her ex-boyfriend Jack 6 times. From 2:44 to 2:52, Maddie also calls Jack 3 times, and Kaylee makes one final call to him at 2:52 a.m. Drunk dialing, right? I'm sure that many of us have been there. After that, they seemed to have fallen asleep, as there was no activity on their phones. On the 13th of November, at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was made from the 1122 King Road residence, saying that someone was unconscious inside the house and needed assistance. When the police and paramedics arrived, they found the 4 deceased students inside the house. Kaylee and Maddie were found on the 3rd level, and Ethan and Xana were found on the 2nd level. It was stated by some of the police that attended that it was a very brutal, traumatic, and bloody scene, with some even saying that it was the worst that they had ever seen. At 2:07 p.m., the University of Idaho released a campus-wide notification that everyone should shelter in place, as the police were busy investigating a homicide. 90 minutes later, the shelter in place was lifted, but everyone was asked to remain vigilant. At around 6 p.m., a campus-wide announcement was released stating that they were notified of the passing of 4 students at an off-campus house due to homicide. And they also stated that all classes for Monday was cancelled. No names were released at that stage, and no other details were communicated. It was also stated that no suspect had been caught, and everyone was rightfully so freaked out. This led to many students deciding to head home early for Thanksgiving break. On Monday, 14 November, police released more information and released the names of Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie as the victims, and stated that they were the victims of homicide. They maintained that there was no active risk to the community. It was also stated that none of the deceased were responsible for the murders, and it was thought that the victims were suspected to have been murdered between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on the 13th of November. No manner of death was released immediately. Tributes started pouring in for the 4 victims from friends, family, and those that knew them. And they were just heartbreaking. These kids sounded like they were amazing young people, kind, caring, loving, and this is just an absolute senseless tragedy. Their lives got robbed from them and everyone that loved them. People soon started speculating on the motive and reason for the killings. Everyone wanted to make sense of why such a tragedy would take place, and they also started speculating on who the suspect might be. It was at first thought that it might have been a crime of passion or a burglary gone wrong. On the 15th of November, it was released that the 4 students were stabbed in an isolated, targeted attack. They also released that no weapon had been found at the scene, and they were still looking for the suspect. On the 16th of November, a video of Maddie and Kaylee at the grub truck was released.
4 University of Idaho students were found murdered, and police are telling students and residents they shouldn't be concerned for their own safety. But that is hardly reassuring for the rattled community or for the victims' families who are vowing to find the assailant. Now, just surfaced surveillance video is helping piece together a timeline of the hours leading up to the slayings. Here's Stephen Fabian.
It's chilling video of 2 University of Idaho students hours before they were brutally murdered. Kaylee Gonzalez in the white hoodie and her friend Madison Mogan were at a popular food truck near the campus.
I would like
Look, one man appears to be watching them. The time, 1:30 a.m. After ordering, Maddie sees a friend and embraces him. When their food comes, Kaylee takes a short video to post on social media, and they walk off together. Look, the man gestures towards them and then heads in the same direction. It's believed police know who he is. Yes. Kaylee's sister Olivia watched the video.
Kaylee was aware of her surroundings, maybe a little overly aware, which is also why all of this is so confusing to us, because Kaylee's not stupid. She's a smart girl. She's a strong girl. She's a mean girl. She's a fighter.
The night began at around 10:30 p.m. when the friends took an Uber to a downtown bar called the Corner Club. It was a party atmosphere, with Kaylee and Madison described as being in good spirits. They left a little after 1 a.m., and that's when they stopped by the food truck. 1:56 a.m., the girls take an Uber home. They were stabbed to death between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. that morning, along with their friends Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle.
Very interesting how 4 students can be overcome by one person with a knife, not a gun.
One possibility being explored is that the students were all sleeping when they were slain. The medical examiner described the crime scene inside the 6-bedroom house as horrifying.
It was very, very traumatic. Yeah.
Have you seen anything like that before?
No.
Police have not identified any suspects and are appealing for calm today as frightened students flee the campus. We hear you and we understand your fears, police said in a statement. We do not believe there is an ongoing threat. Investigators say the murders were targeted. It's being called a possible crime of passion. Another theory is that it's a burglary gone wrong. They have ruled out murder-suicide. Kaylee and Madison were inseparable, lifelong friends. They grew up together, close as sisters. In a statement, Kaylee's family is speaking directly to the killer. We will find you. We will never stop. The pain you caused has fueled our hatred and sealed your fate. Ethan Chapin's parents are also speaking out.
There's not drugs involved. There's not some weird love triangle. We will not let this sink us or sink our kids, because if anything, they have to go on and shine Ethan's bright light on their own.
People started picking the video apart and zooming in on possible suspects. Police soon confirmed that the relevant parties in the video were all interviewed and were cleared. On 17 November, Police Chief James Fry stated, "There is still someone out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. We all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure we're watching out for each other." Fry said that they believed it was a targeted attack, but added that everyone needs to be aware that the individual is still out there, and that they cannot say that there is no threat to the community. The Latah County coroner conducted autopsies on the 4 victims on the 17th of November. She determined that all victims had been stabbed multiple times and that at least one of them showed defensive wounds, and that each had a fatal stab wound to the chest and upper body with a large fixed blade knife. At least one victim had defensive stab wounds on her hands. None showed any signs of SA. All 4 deaths were deemed to be homicide by stabbing.
Were there, and I only ask this because it sometimes determines what kind of a crime this was, a crime of passion, a random crime, a fight, a struggle. Was there, were any of them slashed? Were any of their necks cut? Or were these all puncture wounds?
Well, it was a pretty large knife, so it's really hard to call them puncture wounds. And they were definitely stabbings. And it has to be somebody that's pretty angry in order to stab 4 people to death.
No weapon had been recovered, though the police believed that the killer or killers used a fixed blade knife like a K-bar knife. On the 19th of November, information was released of the calls that were made to Jack, and again, people zoomed in on him being a suspect. But he was also soon cleared by the police. On that same day, a press conference was held to give an update into the investigation. He stated that the investigation of the stabbings were being conducted by the Moscow Police Department, supported by the Idaho State Police and the Latah County Sheriff's Office. All in all, almost 130 members of law enforcement from 3 different agencies began working on the case immediately. He also stated that police received a call at noon on Sunday, 13 November, and that they have concluded that the 4 victims were stabbed to death up to 9 hours before the call had been received, with the killings taking place between 3 to 4 a.m. that morning. He also confirmed that the other 2 roommates were inside the house at the time police arrived. The call was made from one of the roommates' phones, and that multiple people spoke to police. He stated, "The report that we got was that there was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers got onto the scene to do a wellness check that we found the scene we found." To date, the 911 call and details thereof have not been released. It was also released that Ethan and Xana were found on the 2nd floor and Kaylee and Maddie were found on the 3rd floor. It was assumed by the public that the 2 other roommates were then on the 1st floor, since they were in the house when the murders took place, and that they were perhaps in their bedrooms sleeping or passed out drunk, since it was again assumed that they didn't hear anything from upstairs, but nothing relating to that had been communicated. It was stated that there was no forced entry, and that the perp entered the house through the sliding glass door on the 2nd floor level, and that it was more than likely unlocked. Police then requested the public to provide any video of the house that had been recorded the night of the killings. A phone tip line and email were also created for students and others to submit potential evidence to officials.
My name is Chief James Fry with the Moscow Police Department. I'm going to be reading from my notes today because I want the information you receive to be extremely accurate. We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, Latah County Sheriff Richie Skiles, Chief Deputy of Latah County Tim Best, Idaho State Police Colonel Kedrick Wills. The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victims' whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with a tip to call the tip line at 208-883-7180.
On the 23rd of November, it was released that Kaylee had confided in someone that she had a stalker. And this was confirmed that she did in fact say that to several people.
People talk before this incident, and I talked to one student, and I agree with this. It was twice removed from the person that said it, Kaylee, but Kaylee 2 months ago complained about a stalker.
And there may be something to that.
The Moscow police chief said that authorities had received a number of tips that Gonzalez had allegedly had a stalker, but that they were unable to verify that claim or identify any such individual at that time. The police then also excluded the following people from the list of suspects: the two surviving roommates, the male in the grub truck video, the private party that drove Kaylee and Maddie home, and Kaylee's ex Jack, who they phoned on the morning of, as well as anyone that was at the home when the 911 call was made. It was stated by the Latah County State's Attorney that they thought the murders were targeted. The police felt like they needed to give a clarification regarding this, saying that they couldn't confirm whether one person was targeted, multiple people were targeted, or whether it was the house that was targeted, and that it was a mere miscommunication from the state's attorney's office saying that a specific individual was targeted. On the 30th of November, the vigil for the 4 victims were held in Kirby Dome.
But I would like to start by saying my name is Stacy Chapin. I'm Ethan's mom. I'm here tonight with my husband, Jim, Ethan's dad, and his brother, Hunter, and his sister, Maisie, who are also vandals. I think you knew he was a triplet, and that they all go here as well. Okay. We want to start by extending our deepest condolences to all the families impacted by this tragedy. It's hard that we are without these 4 beautiful kids with us tonight. We're here tonight because the University of Idaho is a special place for our family personally. Our triplets enrolled here together because of the small town feel, the beautiful campus, and the Greek system. Those were all mandatory must-haves when picking a school. We visited a neighboring college, no offense if there's any Cougs here. And it felt big and logistically challenging to our family. However, when we arrived on this campus, parked, got out, we all agreed, yes, this school is perfect for us. It feels right. The people here were kind and welcoming when we showed up for orientation, and we knew as a family that we'd made the right choice. The circumstances that bring us here tonight, they're terrible. The hardest part, we cannot change the outcome. And as a family, as a Chapin family, it's important that we share Ethan's legacy and talk about the impact that he made in his young 20 years, or his short 20 years. So this is where we choose to focus our energy, because we are now Ethan's voice. What I want you to know is that our family is no different than probably all of your families. We sat at the dinner table when time permitted. We played games together. We traveled. We hauled our kids to every sporting event imaginable. We had cribbage tournaments, pickleball competitions, and basketball shooting contests. We surfed and spent countless hours in our boat listening to country music, which was Ethan's most favorite thing in the whole world. We hiked. Typically, the kids did that reluctantly, I'll admit. We worked out. Our 3 kids even got their wisdom teeth pulled together. But the most important thing is that in our family, we always had each other's backs, and we will continue to do so. And for all of the things that I've listed and the times that I haven't mentioned, we are eternally grateful that we spent so much time with him. And I want to remind you that that's the most important message that we have for you and your families, is to make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people, because time is precious and it's something you can't get back.
Hi, I'm Jazzy and I'm Xana's sister. First, I want to thank you all for coming. It's really nice to see so many familiar faces and so many people that had so much love for Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Madison. Xana was such a light in my life and so many others. She was a person I could relate to the most, and she knew and understood me more than anyone. Losing her is the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, and it has left me heartbroken. Xana was the funniest person I knew and made me laugh every time I spent time with her. I have so many memories and stories I could share about her, but I know remembering the times I had with her brings me so much joy and happiness. Everyone thought we were twins growing up, and I remember in some of our last moments together, we were in her room laughing in the mirror because neither of us thought we looked alike, and her friends just laughed. She was my baby sister, but she was so much wiser and experienced so much more in life than I ever have. She never let an opportunity pass her by and enjoyed all the moments she had. She was always doing something fun, and in any situation, it was always so much more fun with Xana there. I remember I would get so mad because I always thought my friends liked her more than me, but she was a person that everyone enjoyed being around. She was so positive and lighthearted and understood the gift of life more than anyone I know. I remember her getting so mad at me for caring about the little things that didn't matter. She would always tell me she wouldn't know what to do without me, and now I have to live this life without her. I know she would want me to cherish the times I have with the people I love. She would want me to make the most out of every situation. She would want me to have fun, continue my journey in life, and constantly tell people how much I love them and they mean to me. I remember going to hang out with her about a couple months ago. I remember telling her that we should try to do a sister date every week to spend more time with each other before I graduate. I remember her loving the idea, and her friend Ella reached out to me and told me that Xana was so happy that we were going to start doing that. I love her so much, and I wish I would have spent more time with her and had the chance to continue spending time with her. I know she loved living in her house in Moscow with her friends. I would hear so many stories about her and her roommates, and it made me so happy to know she had such great friendships. She really knew everyone and was friends with everyone. She had the best friend group and had friends in so many different sororities, fraternities, and organizations. I was so happy she was dating Ethan, and Ethan was such an amazing person. Xana never had a boyfriend before, and my dad and I wondered if she was ever going to get one. Ethan was that special, though, because I know she was picky with boys. They were always so happy, and the way she would talk and smile about him was something I've never seen her do before. She truly loved him so much, and I know he had so much love for her. They had something so special, and everyone around them knew. It's comforting to know that they're all watching down on us from heaven now.
Maddie Mae, she was the first grandkid of any of her grandparents. She was Karen and my only child that we ever had, and so she got, everything she ever did was such a big deal, and she was just such a happy, such a great kid, such a perfect little baby, and so just smart and funny and beautiful. She was just nice to everybody, and when I would meet people, ever since she was first born, when I meet people, they say, tell me about yourself, or you're just trying to get to know someone. The first thing I'd say is, well, I have this daughter, and she's here's a picture of her. She's on the dean's list at college, and she works hard, and she has all these great friends in the sorority, and I just would tell them all about Maddie. I wouldn't even, they walk away from it like, I don't know anything about him. We know all about his little girl though, and and I wanted to, when I was up here, I wanted to make sure and mention Jake. She got to have this, is really her only real big relationship she had in her life was with Jake, who is such a great guy, and I'm so glad that she got to just have at least a little taste of what it's like to be in love with someone. And he's just a really great guy, and they treated each other the way you're supposed to, and I was really proud to just call him my daughter's boyfriend, and maybe someday maybe they would have gotten married, It seemed like it, at least, but
Thank everyone for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Maddie has truly been a blessing in our lives. Watching her grow and mature into the amazing woman she become is truly priceless in our hearts. She was the world to us. Maddie was such an easygoing, loving child growing up. She was patient and relaxed toddler most of the time. And as a teenager, she didn't really give us many worries or trouble. Anyone who knows our family knows that we're Steelers fans. I know. Favorite memory for me was watching the game with her, and every time the Steelers scored, I'd pick her up, and I'd hold her high in the air, and we'd celebrate together. And she'd always just laugh so hard at that. We'd just crack up and have a great time. She loved the water. She always looked forward to going boating and fishing with her papa, her Uncle Dave, and Aunt Nadine. She loved going on the boat with her friends and her boyfriend Jake, and we hardly ever saw her during the summer for the most part. Maddie was always inquisitive, curious, and eager to learn about everyone and everything. She absolutely loved younger children in her life, adored all animals, and never said no to any type of family gathering. Maddie loved to travel, especially with her best friend Kaylee and her family. They were both in love with life and exploring. That's why they hit it off so well when they met. They were inseparable from the 6th grade on. They were truly sisters, and our families grew bigger and better from that.
I want to thank you guys all for coming here today. This is the Gonzalez family. We got Jack up here, and I want to thank Xana's family for putting this together. I didn't have to pick up the phone. I didn't have to write an email. I didn't have to do anything. And I know that an event like this large with all these things took a lot of people, and they volunteered their time. And we want to thank who you know if you were a part of this. I can't say everyone by name, but I want to thank you. We're going to say a couple stories about our girls and help you guys understand how much we love them and how we miss them, and how we hope this community can get strong and heal, and mainly just understand what we lost and how much the world has lost with these 2 girls and these other 3 girls in Zion and Nathan. All right, my wife will read a poem that she had on her page, Kaylee, and here you go.
I came across this going through Kaylee's stuff. It's called Milk and Honey.
Most important is love. Like it's the only thing you know how. At the end of the day, all of this means nothing. This page, where we're sitting, your degree, your job, the money, nothing even matters except love and human connection. You, who you love, and how deeply you love them, how you touch the people around you, and how much you give them. Reflection was getting me.
Kaylee was our middle child out of 5. She was always competitive. She was smack dab middle, so Stephen and Olivia were a little bit older. Autumn and Aubrey were a little bit younger, so she kind of had to figure out where to fit in, and she definitely did. There was never a day that she didn't want to race her brother because she was just determined that girls were faster than boys, or that she didn't want to go bug her little sisters and make sure they knew that she was older and they were the little sisters. Kaylee is a huge part of our family. The dynamics of our family will never be the same. We know that this is God's will. It's hard to accept. But she was a beautiful girl. She started junior high with Maddie, as you all knew, and our family became 6 very quickly. There was a lot of friends throughout this family that came and gone and went and whatever, and we're still friends, but we don't see him that much. That wasn't Maddie. Maddie and Kaylee were by each other's sides every day. They went to other countries together. Karen took them to Hawaii together. We took them to Mexico together. They went to college together. They went to high school together. They lived in their own apartment together. They were sisters. She was one of ours. And we're just heartbroken. And we know it's just going to take time for everybody to heal. If that's possible. I just pray that it is. Thank you, everybody.
Due to the slow release of details about the crime to the public, TikTokers, self-proclaimed psychics, and social media users began to speculate and spread rumors and misinformation about the case on social media. Ethan's father stated that there is a lack of information from the University of Idaho and the local police, which only fuels false rumors and innuendo in the press and social media. Kaylee's father also spoke about the lack of flow of information from the police to the families of the victims about 11 days after the attack, saying, "They're just so vague with everything that they say, and then they slowly peel it back later until you find out the real story." During an interview with Kaylee's mom and dad on the 4th of December, her father stated that Kaylee's wounds were much more severe than any of the other victims. He stated that the attacks must have been targeted as the killer did not have to go upstairs, but they did.
Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee Gonzalez, Christy and Steve Gonzalez. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and this happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No. I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other two as well.
Yes. I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these two girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these two girls, I'm going to do what I can do, and we're not being victims. We're going to fight. We're going to figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. What does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen, and those people are like lawyers, and they don't want to say anything, and they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can, but somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out there. Like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday.
We looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something.
Some mail.
That was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here. We just have no information as family, and it gets tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something, and you see these, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
The sixth person on the lease that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives, and this is the future of
this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So be serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target attack walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
they don't,
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to go up the steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right. You ain't taking that from me.
Calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to an investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked. And it's, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911, somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get, we don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I've reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
We're scared.
When you tell me you don't want a photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help? But hey, I could be wrong. And you officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I want to, please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, people do know. If they don't, then, you know, the community, this is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know how much that digital footprint could be helpful. So that's what we ask for. I hope like a DNA, a family lineage, if they could come out here and just start taking, this town is not that big. We could figure out this, and it might not be him. It might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We could find this guy just with volunteers.
Lineage companies were,
Put Idaho on the map.
Christy, Steve, we're going to stay on this case.
Thank you.
We're not going anywhere.
Thank you.
You guys have been candid with us. We'll keep asking questions. Any resource that we have available, our audience is praying for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. It was big for you guys to come back to Moscow tonight. I know it took a lot of courage to do it, and I'm hoping we can get some answers for you. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
The Moscow Police Department criticized internet sleuths for creating rampant online rumors and disrupting investigations, and stated that it was negative towards the investigation. On the 2nd of December, they released a statement saying, "There is speculation without factual backing, stoking community fears and spreading false facts." They also warned that people harassing or threatening those potentially involved with the case could face criminal charges. On the 5th of December, they also stated that the active criminal investigation law enforcement has not released additional facts to the family or public, and that they realized that it caused frustration, but that they were committed to providing information where possible and when possible, but not at the expense of the investigation and prosecution of a suspect. Moscow Police Captain Roger Lanier stated that, "We are not releasing specific details, as we do not want to compromise the investigation. We owe that to the families, and we owe that to the victims. We want more than just an arrest. We want a conviction." On the 7th of December, the police started the difficult task of boxing up and removing personal items that were not relevant to the investigation, so that they can be returned to their families. And on the same day, police announced that they needed the help of the community on information on a white 2010 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra, as a white Elantra between those years had been imaged by a camera in the area of the killings around the time when they took place, and that the driver might have information relating to the case, and asked for anyone that had any information to come forward. While they poured over hundreds of hours of footage, several thousand tips, and went through the registrations of at least 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras in the area to try and find it, no one came forward. On 18 December, an extra video of the girls walking from the bar was released, and of course, that was also picked apart. It later came about that Adam was the bartender at the corner club, and people made all sorts of assumptions about the video and tried to analyze the meaning of it, but it didn't lead to any suspects. But with all the hard work and efforts, and under extreme pressure from basically the whole world, the police finally made an arrest, almost 7 weeks later. On 30 December 2022, at 3 a.m., a 28-year-old man by the name of Brian Christopher Koberger of Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, was taken into custody by an FBI SWAT team and Pennsylvania State Police at his parents' home in Chestnut Hill Township in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Koberger was arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony count of burglary. He was appointed a public defender and detained without bond at the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. It was said that when he was arrested, he just had a blank stare on his face and asked whether anyone else was arrested. Soon after, it was confirmed that a knife sheath was found on the scene of the murders with DNA on it that was linked to Koberg through genealogy sites, as he had no previous arrests or warrants to link it from. And that a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra registered to Brian was found at his parents' house when he was arrested. After only 5 minutes of Brian's name being released, over 400 tips streamed in with information on him. And soon afterward, Brian's family also released a statement.
Koberger's family releasing a statement which reads in part, "First and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to seek the truth and promote his presumption of innocence."
So that is where we will end for part 1. In part 2, we'll be discussing Brian and the case even more. If you have gotten this far, thank you so much for your support. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe. It's a free way that you can help me out. I'll see you in part 2. Until next time, stay safe out there, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye!